Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. I'm James McGowan.
I'm Jessica Fest.
And today we're doing something a little different, and we're going to have a little fun with it, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, so one of the things I miss most about not being in the office together is that every time one of us reads a book, we talk about it. It's nothing planned. It's not a book club. It's just, I just finished this book and we talk about it. And last month, I did my own video about all of the books I had read in March. And this month, we are together going to just talk about books. Here's the thing is that I'm so often asked, do agents still read for pleasure? And I know people who've left the industry who don't, or who felt they didn't. We still do. We read all the time. And I think agents read a little differently, just like authors do. We're always studying the book a little bit here and there, but at the end of the day, we're just reading for enjoyment.
Like, I would have cut that chapter. Did that make sense? Was that the best ending?
For me, it's usually, why is this book so long? Why didn't somebody cut it?
This isn't 80,000 words.
But, it also, a lot of books have informed our manuscript wish list or our MSWL over time.
And every book that we read really does do that. It does change what we're looking for a little bit or add to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not even in the same genre. I mean, I think you'll see let's start talking. Let's just get into it. I gotta get my staff.
Should we just lift them up? There's our thumbnail.
We have a thumbnail.
So I have been reading a ton because, what else is there to do? Am I right? Can't leave the house. So what have you been reading?
Well, let me start. I think I want to pick one of my favorites for the month.
Okay, I'll do the same.
So one of my favorites was Kitchens of the Great.
Oh, yes, I heard about this one already.
I love J. Ryan Stradall. This is the second book I've read. They're all set in Minnesota, and I'm from Minnesota.
That's all you really need.
Yes, but actually, they're about food. This one is about food. His other book is about beer.
If you've watched any of our YouTube videos, you have to know by now that really does it for her.
I feel like these books are like meant for me, personally.
Maybe.
So, there's an interesting magic about these books with no actual magic. And I don't know how they're not magical realism at all. They're contemporary, but yet there's a magical quality to the books, a romanticism to the food that I absolutely love. And I love this book, and I might keep it, and I never keep books.
You never keep books.
I never keep books. But so this is really everything I would want in a book. It's food, it's Minnesota, it's everything. So,
well, my favorite of the month is one that I actually have to bring back to you when I come in. And that was The Glass Hotel by Emily Mandel. Oh,
I'm dying. I'm talking nonstop about this.
Well, first of all, Station 11 is one of my favorite books ever. I thought it was so good. We actually did book club that one back a couple years ago. And I have been waiting for this one for a long time. But it's got all of my favorite things. It's got some ghosts in there. It's got a Ponzi scheme, which you never think would make for good reading, but it does.
Oh, that would be fat. Yeah.
And one of my favorite things in books is when there's a cast of characters and it just bounces back and forth. There's no real timeline. We're kind of all over the place. Yeah. And at the end, you somehow tie it all together. That's one of my favorite things, especially in like mysteries when things like that are done. And
she does that really well.
So well.
Yeah.
There are characters and I'm like, well, who is this when I start out? And by the end of the chapter, I'm like, oh my God, this person's life is going to get ruined by this person. No, but I actually recommended this to a client and I got like a very late email, like paragraphs and paragraphs. What were your favorite pages, your quotes, all of this? And I never dog-ear books, but I dog-eared the crap out of this one.
Wow.
Honestly, I loved it so much. I can't wait for you to read it.
I'm excited. Yeah, I didn't buy it because I was waiting, but we may never see each other in person again. So
Do you want me to mail it?
If Station 11 is any indication, we may never see each other in person again.
Oh, and that's another thing I loved about this. There's actually a character in this that was in Station 11, and I watched her she did a book launch virtual event with Harvard Bookstore. I signed up immediately.
Yes.
And she actually talked about how she pictured this as an adjacent, like alternate reality kind of thing
Oh,
for that
interesting.
character. Yeah, it was
Oh, that's
really
really
interesting.
cool.
It's Miranda, who she was the shipping executive in Station 11. I don't know if you
Yeah, yeah,
remember
yeah,
her.
yeah.
She's in this as a shipping executive, and it was kind of like parallel. It was really interesting how she did that.
Oh, that is really interesting.
Yeah, somebody
I
brought
can
it up
see
in
how
her.
that could happen with her.
Yeah, somebody brought it up in her event, and they were like, what, like, how did this work? And she said it wasn't before, it wasn't after, it was just kind of, I wanted her in this book again. She fit, and she did it again, which was really interesting, and how just to see how writers can't let go of their characters sometimes.
That is really cool. I've always tried to encourage some of my series authors that it would
It's
be
cool.
really cool to have a character crossover. Not many have done it, but I always thought that would be just like almost like an Easter egg
Yeah,
for
for the people who have
readers.
read your other books.
Yeah, and it
Yeah,
wouldn't
that's why I
matter.
love Tana French, because every book is a character from the last one. It's really
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, I like that. I
Yeah,
like that. It's a different way to be able to hold on to a book or a character that you maybe didn't think you could let go of.
right. Yeah, and that's exactly what this case was.
Yeah, I love that. Very cool. Um, let's see. Well, I'm gonna do the next one. I'm gonna do. It's actually your book.
Oh, you read that one?
I did read Dear Edward because Dear Edward is about a plane crash.
Yeah,
And
that ticks your box.
it really does. I'm a little obsessed with plane crashes. I don't know why.
Me neither.
Knock on wood, I've never been in one. But Dear Edward is about a boy, the only survivor of a plane crash. And I thought the writing on this was really interesting too. Like, I thought Edward was a really sort of subtly complicated character. This was a very emotional. It was kind of a tough read at times.
Oh wow.
Because it's a boy who loses. He was 12, I think, and
Right.
he lost his entire family in the plane crash, and is sent to live with his aunt and uncle. And of course, he's like the most famous kid in the world. And
Right.
yeah, it was good. I liked it. I liked it. Very emotional and plane crashes.
There you
I
go.
think that I think there are certain, it's one of those things that there is so much you can do with a plane crash. It could be a survival. I mean, there are always going to be survival stories, but this wasn't. He was rescued and brought to a house. Versus,
And I love those stories about like after trauma, like the grief that kind of permeates everything. I think it's so interesting to explore that in books, especially after trauma like that hooky, like,
yeah.
oh, a plane crash, I'm in. And then you just kind of get to see everything that happens after the plane crash.
And I think what's so interesting is, and especially I think during these times we can see this, is nobody experienced things like trauma or grief the same.
Right.
So there's so many ways that it can be explored in books that can be so different. Two different people could write the same idea of a 12-year-old who survives a plane crash. And in fact, Hatchet is a middle school book. Basically, I think he's 12, let's say, who survives a plane crash, but he's stuck in the Alaska wilderness with a hatchet. So, similar, same setup, completely different way to run with the story.
Yeah, that's true. I never read Hatchet either. 12-year-olds everywhere are gonna ruin my life for that.
It's a favorite.
I've never read it. I should.
Yeah.
So kind of, I guess, going off automobile accidents, I read The Other Americans which is very difficult to, there you go.
Well, there you go.
The Other Americans by Layla Lalami, and it was incredible. I think it actually just won an award too, if I'm not mistaken. I think it might have won the National Book Award.
Nice.
It won one of
Put
those.
me on that. Can you post it on it for me for next?
Yes, these two are both coming back to the office for you. Anyway, The Other Americans was about a Moroccan immigrant family, and the father owns a restaurant and is hit by a car and killed. And then just sort of the aftermath of unfolding all the family secrets about why he was killed and sort of what got them there in the position that they're in. And it bounces back and forth from all these different characters.
You love that.
Timelines was really interesting because the father has a point of view chapter in here, but it's never really outwardly stated that it's past tense.
Interesting.
So you're kind of like, hold on. It was just really interesting. Kind of like, am I listening to his ghost talk? It was really interesting. I thought I loved it.
Yeah, and I think the secrets the family secrets coming to life is always such a great
Yeah.
concept.
Oh,
And
some of my favorite books have that hook of
yeah,
like, oh, there's this long buried family secret nobody knows about, and
yeah,
it's just all coming to a head now.
yeah. And I like it when it's done in this way. I'm not a big fan of I think it's harder to pull off we found a trunk in the attic that uncovered the family secrets.
Oh yeah, it's hard.
Like this, because it's done a lot.
Yeah,
This feels like such a more interesting way to approach that
it
topic.
does. Yeah.
For the
Something like really different that serves as your catalyst for a book. I love those entry points that nobody's really ever done before, but
yeah,
take us into this sprawling story that even at the end might feel familiar, but it just, the way you got me there was completely original. That's one of my favorite things.
it's all about execution.
Yeah.
Five people can, and authors talk about this a lot. This concern that somebody's going to steal their idea, but
Mm,
there are a million books set on the same idea. It's not
right.
the idea that's going to get you there, it's the execution. And five different people, we just said this, can come up with the same idea,
Right.
but you can have five completely different books in different genres even.
Yeah. Anybody who's taken a creative writing class knows that once you're given a prompt, there's 30 different, wildly different stories. So,
Yeah, very cool. So I'm going to do two at once quick because I did a couple audiobooks.
ah,
I did The Cactus and I did Class Mom.
okay.
Class Mom was actually recommended to me in a query letter.
Oh, cool.
Fun, funny, light, and The Cactus
Let me
was,
just say, I would love more recommendations in my query letter. Sometimes finding something to read is really difficult. So if you could just help me out, like,
yeah, no, and
what's your favorite book?
it was based on a tweet, and she saw the tweet and she said, you might like this. The Cactus is a Reese book club pick. I like Reese book club picks a lot, and this just appealed to me. And in both cases, I was looking for something a little bit lighter and easier. This was, I think, the beginning of April, so still the very beginning of we were in lockdown. And I just, at the time, felt that when I was, spending my weekends in the yard, cutting down trees and bushes, because that's apparently how I keep myself busy when I'm in lockdown. The audiobooks that I could just listen and also like have other conversations if I had to while they were going were really nice. So audiobooks, I did a couple of audiobooks, and I did them. I think one of them was Audible, but the other one I did from my library, which is great because if I don't get to it, yeah, I'm supporting the library too. So that was great.
Yeah. What else? Where do I go from here? So I read two books last week, actually. Nobody told me Severance was a pandemic novel, and then I opened it up, and suddenly I'm in a pandemic, and then I couldn't put it down.
That's Amanda's fault, I believe.
So Amanda Jane actually just signed a book with the same title, and she was talking about how this one is so well known. And I'm like, well, not by me. So I went on Bookshop and I ordered a copy, and I didn't even read about what it was about. I just ordered it, and here I am. It was really actually pretty good. I mean, I'm not in the market for a pandemic novel right now, but once you kind of in there, you can't put it down, and it jumps back and forth between Candace, the main character is Candace, jumps back and forth between her office job in publishing, actually, funnily enough.
Oh,
Yes. And right before the pandemic started, to her struggle for survival as a pregnant woman in the midst of everything.
that sounds good.
It was quite interesting. Yeah. I also read Lost Children Archive, which actually is a recommendation, sort of a general blanket recommendation from the folks at Print Run, who
Oh,
talk about this all the time, and now I understand why. It's a family on a road trip throughout the United States, and it really deals with the immigration crisis at the border. And
oh, that sounds intense.
yeah, and it was basically Lost Children Archive is a project that the mother is working on, where she's chronicling a sound landscape basically of all the trials and the crisis itself at the border, and it's
Right.
sort of like the fracture in their family as well as they're on this road trip. It was really interesting. I probably didn't pitch it very well. I'm terrible at verbal pitches, but it was a good one. I'll bring that one in for you too. You might enjoy it.
Okay, thanks.
I'm just bringing my whole stack in.
Well, my whole stack is sitting there waiting for you to go through it, so it worked. I'm going to pull up. It was another Reese book club.
Oh,
because I
yes.
wanted something fun. The Jet Setters, I think this was one of her more recent ones, although she's got a new one out now that looks really good to me. This is about a mother in her 70s and her family, her 3 children, they're a bit fractured. And she wins a cruise, and they decide to, she and her 3 children go on this, adult children go on this cruise together.
That's fun.
And it's funny and light. And again, I tend to read darker books. I tend to gravitate towards darker books, but I think in April I made a real conscious effort to read some lighter ones. And this was one of them. And it was fun. And I like a fun read. And
That's also interesting too, about how you're gravitating towards lighter, and for some reason I'm gravitating towards darker.
Well, now I'm reading some darker things this month, so we'll see. Because the next book I'm going to show you is definitely darker. My last book that I'm going to show you is definitely darker. I have one more to go, but
okay, I will.
Do you have like 6 more?
No, I'll just do these last 2
Okay.
at the same time. So I read Tammy Hoag's The Boy. This was actually gifted to me by her editor at Dutton, Stephanie
Nice.
Kelly. And it was just one of those really fast mystery reads that I haven't read in a long time. Yeah, and then suddenly you're on page 400 in like 3 hours, and you're like, how did that happen?
And Tammy Hoag's been writing forever.
Well, I never knew her, and then I opened the book, and it's got all these blurbs and a list of like 30 books, and so she's definitely one that I'll have to read more from. And then if anybody's read the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, this book has to be on your radar by now. I will argue that series, the Broken Earth trilogy, was one of the best fantasy series I've ever read. So I was really excited when this came out. I love books set in New York. It was just a super fast, super fun fantasy. So I had to read it. So I guess maybe, a little lighter.
Which is interesting though, because you've had a couple of, well, I guess I wouldn't call Emily St. John or St. Mandel a fantasy author necessarily.
No,
but you've had some fantasy on your list, but you don't rep fantasy.
No, I do read fantasy every so often when I feel like I need a good escape, but it does take a lot for me. It's not something I normally gravitate to.
Yeah. But it's also good, if you're going to study it, it's a good study in world building.
For sure.
Which is needed in anything. Fantasy,
exactly.
Historical, contemporary. You always have to build a world.
Right. And I will read N.K. Jemisin's grocery list if she wanted me to. So
she might.
I think she's that good. Me, Naomi, and when Beth Campbell was at BookEnds, we actually book clubbed the Broken Earth trilogy. And it was, that's a good one. You should definitely put that on your list.
Okay, it goes on my list. My list is getting big.
Yeah, same.
I read Girls Like Us. Did you give this to me?
Yeah.
No, all I do is read your books, apparently.
We actually got that at Thriller Fest last year, and I left it at the office.
This is phenomenal.
Really? Okay, well,
yeah.
Put it on my list.
Oh, you haven't read this one yet?
No, I forgot it there.
No. In fact, I bought The Banker's Wife, and I didn't start that one yet, which is her other book.
I heard that one was great.
Yeah, I think I need to do that. You know what's interesting about this is I get a ton of queries about sex trafficking. A ton. Yeah, I have no interest in them. This is sort of about sex trafficking, but it's not about it. And that's what the difference is.
Tangential.
Yes. And I think that's what the difference is. But this is actually set in Long Island.
Oh, very
And
cool.
I just think her writing was fantastic. It was a fast read. And it was one of the 2 books in the past couple of months that I stayed up and read.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So I love her. I love this book. So I'm definitely going to put this in your pile.
Please do. Well, this was fun. I think we should do this monthly.
We should. Then I better step it up because I've been a little slow this month.
Me too. I'm still on the same book I started on May 1st. So
Me too. And I'm really struggling with it. So maybe I just need to pick up a second book.
Yeah, I think that's what you have to do.
And maybe I need to go shopping. Bookshop.
I'm going straight to Bookshop, and I'm going to buy what's been in my cart so that I will have books to talk about in our main.
Yeah, and if you don't know what Bookshop is, it supports indie bookstores. So we strongly recommend get off Amazon. Check out Bookshop, please.
Yes, I will link it below. BookEnds has included Bookshop in all of our current and future blog posts, too, in an effort to support them. So we hope you will, too.
Yeah, this was fun. It was good talking books with you again.
Yes, you too. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get our more agent videos. And
Yeah.
hopefully you'll see another one of these videos in May if you enjoyed it. Let us know what
Yep.
you're reading in the comments too. We'd love to.
Yeah, I
suggestions.
seriously could use some suggestions.
Yeah. So let us know. Take care.
Bye.